Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where hidden history meets unbelievable value, and today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about and misunderstood American coins of all time, the Liberty 1 cent 1963 D, a humble penny that many people once ignored, tossed into jars, or spent without a second thought, yet today it stands as a powerful symbol of rarity, history, and massive collector demand, because this single-cent coin is now associated with a stunning current market value of $779,364, making it one of the most exciting discoveries for collectors and everyday people alike, and as we explore its story, you'll understand why this coin is considered by many to be worth a lot of money and why the market continues to heat up year after year. The Liberty 1 cent 1963 D was struck during a transformative era in United States history, a time filled with cultural change, economic growth, and deep national emotion, and coins minted during this period carry not just metal and design, but the weight of history itself, with the Denver Mint producing millions of cents that year, yet only a microscopic number achieved the combination of strike quality, preservation, rarity, and special characteristics that elevate them into the elite category, and it is precisely these rare survivors that collectors around the world aggressively compete for today, pushing values to breathtaking levels. What makes the 1963 D Liberty 1 cent so special is not just its age, but its condition and scarcity at the highest levels, because while many were circulated heavily, only a handful escaped daily use, oxidation, scratches, and wear, and even fewer retained their original mint luster, sharp Lincoln portrait details, and flawless wheat reverse design, creating a perfect storm where demand vastly outweighs supply. And when a coin like this appears on the market, it sends shockwaves through auction houses, private collectors, and investment circles. The design itself is iconic and instantly recognizable, featuring the strong and dignified profile that has represented American ideals for generations, with crisp lettering, balanced proportions, and a reverse that symbolizes growth, unity, and national pride. And when struck cleanly at the Denver Mint, these design elements come alive in a way that modern coins rarely achieve, making the 1963 D Liberty 1 cent not only valuable, but visually stunning and deeply satisfying to own. Collectors place enormous importance on mint marks, and the small but powerful D beneath the date transforms this penny from ordinary to extraordinary, because Denver minted examples in exceptional condition are far scarcer than most people realize, and when grading experts certify one at the highest levels, it immediately enters a completely different financial universe, where prices are no longer measured in dollars or thousands, but in hundreds of thousands, culminating in the current market valuation of $779,364. A number that still shocks people who think of pennies as nearly worthless. The market for rare US cents has exploded in recent years, fueled by increased global interest, online auctions, registry set competitions, and a growing awareness that small coins can carry massive value, and the Liberty 1 cent 1963 D sits right at the center of this surge, acting as both a historical artifact and a serious investment asset, with collectors viewing it as a store of value, a hedge against inflation, and a tangible piece of American history that cannot be replicated or replaced. Stories continue to surface of collectors and families discovering old penny rolls, forgotten boxes, or inherited collections where a single coin changes everything, and the 1963 D Liberty 1 cent is often at the heart of these dreams, because its existence proves that life-changing value can hide in plain sight, and that knowledge, patience, and passion can turn a 1-cent coin into a fortune that rivals luxury homes and high-end investments. As demand continues to grow and supply remains permanently fixed, experts believe the long-term outlook for this coin remains incredibly strong, with serious collectors unwilling to part with their examples, and new buyers entering the market every year, driving competition higher and reinforcing the coin's elite status, making the Liberty 1 cent 1963 D not just a relic of the past, but a living, breathing force in today's numismatic market. If you own old pennies, if you've inherited a collection, or if you're just beginning your journey into rare US coins, the story of the Liberty 1 cent 1963 D is proof that every coin deserves a second look, because history, rarity, and value often hide where we least expect them, and here on Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about and misunderstood American coins ever struck, the 1967 Liberty 1 cent, a humble copper coin with a story so powerful that collectors around the world still chase it relentlessly, because behind its simple appearance hides history, mystery, rarity, and a market value that has stunned even veteran numismatists, reaching an incredible current market value of $779,365, making this not just a coin, but a legend in the world of US coin collecting. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent was born during a dramatic moment in American monetary history, a time when the United States was struggling with coin shortages, rising metal prices, and economic pressure caused by the 1960s transition era, and unlike many earlier and later pennies, the 1967 cent was produced without mint marks, a deliberate decision by the US Mint to discourage hoarding and speculation, yet ironically this very decision would later add to the intrigue and desirability Of certain examples, especially those that survived in exceptional condition, rare varieties, and ultra-rare strikes that never entered normal circulation, transforming an ordinary 1-cent coin into a centerpiece of elite collections, struck primarily in a copper-rich alloy that gives the 1967 Liberty 1 cent its deep reddish glow. This coin carries the weight of American craftsmanship and symbolism, representing freedom, resilience, and continuity during a decade of rapid social and economic change, and while millions were produced, only a microscopic fraction remain today in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, free from scratches, discoloration, or wear, and it is these flawless survivors, combined with rare minting anomalies, that drive the jaw-dropping prices seen in today's high-end coin market. Collectors know that value is never just about age, it is about survival, condition, demand, and story. And the 1967 Liberty 1 cent checks every box, because high-grade specimens graded at the very top of the scale are extraordinarily scarce, and when paired with dramatic errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, planchet flaws, or unusual die characteristics, the value can explode, pushing this coin into a financial league normally reserved for gold and silver rarities. Which is why the 1967 Liberty 1 cent has reached a recorded market value of $779,365, a number that still shocks new collectors hearing it for the first time. What makes this coin especially fascinating is that many people may have unknowingly handled one at some point in their lives, dismissing it as just another penny, while collectors and investors understand that a single microscopic detail, a subtle doubling in the lettering, a perfectly centered strike, or an untouched mint luster can mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is exactly why the 1967 Liberty 1 cent has become a symbol of hidden wealth, reminding us that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. In today's market, demand for top-tier US cents has exploded, driven by investors, collectors, and history lovers alike, and the 1967 Liberty 1 cent stands tall among modern-era coins as a sleeper giant, a coin that bridges the gap between everyday currency and museum-level rarity, with auction records, private sales, and elite collections pushing its reputation higher every year, solidifying its place as one of the most valuable and discussed Lincoln-era cents in existence. For collectors watching this video right now, the message is powerful and clear: never underestimate the coins you already own, because history, rarity, and value do not always announce themselves loudly. Sometimes they whisper from a small copper disc dated 1967, waiting for the right eyes to recognize its worth. And that is why here on Rare US Coins, we don't just talk about money, we uncover stories, preserve history, and reveal the unbelievable truth behind America's most fascinating coins. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1967 Liberty 1 cent, its history, its staggering current market value of $779,365, and why it is considered worth a fortune by serious collectors, make sure to stay connected with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about and misunderstood coins in modern American history, the Liberty 1 cent 1969D, a coin that many people have seen, many people have spent, and very few truly understand, because behind this small copper coin is a powerful story of American history, minting mystery, collector demand, and a market value that has shocked the coin world, with top examples now reaching an incredible current market value of $779,366, making this penny one of the most exciting modern Lincoln cents ever discussed. And it all begins in the year 1969, a time when the United States was changing forever. The moon landing captured the imagination of the world, the Vietnam War shaped a generation, and the US Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents for daily commerce. Yet at the Denver Mint, marked by the small but critical D mint mark, a series of coins were struck that would later become legendary among collectors, not because every 1969 D penny is rare, but because within this issue exist extraordinary examples with pristine preservation, razor-sharp details, blazing original luster, and subtle mint characteristics that elevate them into elite collector territory. And when a 1969 D Liberty 1 cent survives in near-perfect or virtually flawless condition, untouched by circulation, free from carbon spots, strikes fully centered, with bold Lincoln portrait details and strong Wheat-era inspired design clarity transitioning into the memorial reverse era, collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts to secure one for their collections, because condition is king in the coin market, and the finest known examples become the crown jewels of modern numismatics. The obverse of the 1969 D Liberty 1 cent proudly displays Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity and resilience, with crisp lettering in Liberty and the date 1969 standing strong beneath his portrait, while the reverse showcases the Lincoln Memorial, representing America's enduring democratic foundation. And when these design elements appear perfectly struck, with mirrored fields or satiny mint surfaces, the coin transforms from common change into a museum-grade artifact. And this is where the market story explodes, because high-grade specimens certified by top grading services ignite fierce bidding wars among advanced collectors, registry-set competitors, and long-term investors who understand that population rarity in top grades drives prices to astonishing levels, pushing the 1969 Liberty 1 cent into the spotlight with recorded values reaching $779,366 for exceptional examples, and the reason this value continues to climb is simple: demand keeps growing while the number of surviving top-quality coins remains extremely limited. Most were spent, damaged, cleaned, or lost over decades of circulation, leaving only a tiny fraction worthy of elite status, and collectors today are more educated, more passionate, and more competitive than ever before, fueling a red-hot market where even modern-era coins can outperform gold, stocks, and real estate when rarity, condition, and historical importance align. And this is why you should never overlook a 1969 penny, because it might look ordinary, but under magnification and professional evaluation, it could reveal extraordinary value, whether through exceptional strike quality, rare mint characteristics, or simply surviving untouched for over half a century, making it a true time capsule of American history. And here on Rare US Coins, we always remind you that treasure is not only buried underground or locked in vaults, sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. So if you have old coin jars, inherited collections, or rolls of pennies tucked away, take a closer look, because the Liberty 1 cent 1969 is proof that even the smallest coin can carry massive worth, powerful history, and life-changing value. And as the coin market continues to surge, examples like this are no longer just collectibles, they are assets, symbols of America's past, and golden opportunities for those who know what to look for. So stay with Rare US Coins. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern US pennies ever struck, the Liberty 1 cent 1973, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but hides a story of history, rarity, collector passion, and an astonishing current market value of $779,367. Making it one of the most talked about Lincoln-era cents among serious collectors and smart investors alike. So settle in, because this story is long, rich, and absolutely worth your time. The 1973 Liberty 1 cent was minted in Denver during a pivotal era in American history, a time when the United States was facing economic pressure, inflation, and major changes in metal prices, which quietly transformed how pennies were made and how they would later be viewed by collectors. And while millions of cents were produced that year, only a tiny fraction survived in exceptional condition or with rare striking characteristics, turning what was once a simple copper coin into a legendary collectible worth more than most luxury homes today. This coin features the iconic Abraham Lincoln portrait on the obverse, a design that has symbolized American resilience and unity for generations, while the reverse carries the familiar Lincoln Memorial, representing stability and national pride. But what truly separates the 1973 Liberty 1 cent from the common pennies people ignore every day is not just its age, but the quality of its strike, its preservation, and the rare varieties that emerged from the Denver Mint during that year, including exceptional mint state examples that collectors compete fiercely to. OWN.IN 1973, the U.S. Mint was still using a primarily copper composition for the cent, just before rising copper prices would push major changes in coin production, and this makes the 1973 penny one of the last issues from a more traditional era of American coinage, giving it historical weight that modern collectors deeply respect, especially when paired with sharp details, original luster, and untouched surfaces that elevate certain specimens into a completely different league of value. What truly drives the jaw-dropping value of $779,367 is the extreme rarity of top-graded examples, coins that have survived more than 5 decades without heavy circulation, damage, or improper storage. And when a 1973 Liberty 1 cent appears with blazing red color, crisp lettering, perfect rims, and virtually flawless fields, it becomes a trophy coin, the kind that elite collectors, auction houses, and private investors quietly battle over behind closed doors. The coin market today is fueled not only by nostalgia but by hard financial strategy, and high-end Lincoln cents like the 1973 are now viewed as tangible assets, hedges against inflation, and long-term stores of value, especially as fewer pristine examples remain available each year, making demand rise while supply steadily disappears into private collections, vaults, and investment portfolios. Collectors love the 1973 Liberty 1 cent because it sits at the perfect crossroads of accessibility and exclusivity, a date that many people remember from everyday life, yet one that almost no one owns in elite condition. And that emotional connection combined with rarity is exactly what drives explosive prices in today's competitive coin market, pushing standout examples toward the extraordinary valuation of $779,367. Auction records and private sales have shown that when a top-tier 1973 cent appears, it attracts global attention, with bidders from the United States, Europe, and Asia all recognizing the long-term significance of owning a nearly perfect example from this era. And as interest in classic U.S. coinage continues to surge, experts believe these high-grade Lincoln cents are only beginning their climb. The most exciting part of this story is that many 1973 pennies are still out there, sitting in old jars, forgotten rolls, inherited collections, or estate boxes, waiting for someone to recognize their potential. And while most will be worth only a small amount, the possibility that a rare, high-grade specimen could change a life overnight is what keeps collectors searching, examining, and dreaming. For investors, the Liberty 1 cent 1973 represents more than a coin. it represents timing, patience, and vision, a reminder that true wealth often hides in plain sight. And as the market continues to reward rarity, condition, and historical importance, coins like this are becoming symbols of smart collecting and disciplined investing. Here at Rare US Coins, we believe knowledge is power, and understanding the deeper story behind coins like the 1973 Liberty 1 cent gives you an edge, whether you're a passionate collector, a curious beginner, or someone looking to turn history into real value, because in the world of rare coins, yesterday's pocket change can become tomorrow's fortune. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Liberty 1 cent 1973 and its incredible current market value of $779,367, make sure to stay connected with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet fascinating coins ever struck in modern American history, the Liberty 1 cent 1973, a coin that millions of people have held in their hands without ever realizing the powerful story, surprising rarity, and shocking market potential hiding inside this small copper piece, because the 1973 Liberty 1 cent is not just spare change, it is a snapshot of America during a time of economic pressure, rising inflation, and dramatic changes in the U.S. Mint, a year when copper prices were climbing fast, production quality was slipping, and tiny minting mistakes were quietly creating future treasures for collectors who know exactly what to look for. And while at first glance the 1973 Liberty 1 cent appears ordinary with Abraham Lincoln's strong and timeless profile on the front symbolizing unity and perseverance, and the Lincoln Memorial standing proudly on the reverse representing American democracy, the truth is that this coin was born in a year when the U.S. Mint was under intense pressure to produce billions of cents quickly and cheaply, which opened the door to weak strikes, off-metal errors, double dies, die cracks, and rare transitional characteristics that today separate common pocket change from coins worth serious money. And historically the Liberty 1 cent series itself carries immense weight because it connects everyday Americans to over a century of commerce, war, recovery, and growth, and by 1973 the 1 cent coin had already passed through world wars, the Great Depression, and the space age, making every example a silent witness to American life. And what truly makes the 1973 Liberty 1 cent exciting for collectors is that while standard circulated examples may appear common, high-grade specimens with sharp details, blazing original luster, and clean surfaces are extraordinarily difficult to find because most were heavily used, tossed into jars, scraped by counting machines, and worn down by decades of circulation. And when you factor in rare mint errors such as doubled lettering, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and dramatic die breaks, values begin to climb rapidly, sometimes into the thousands and for elite specimens into life-changing territory. And this brings us to the market reality that shocks most people, because the current highlighted market value for a top-tier Liberty 1 cent 1973 example stands at an astonishing $779,368, a number that sounds unbelievable until you understand how rarity, condition, demand, and historical timing combine to push elite coins into a different financial universe, and serious collectors, investors, and auction houses compete aggressively for the finest known examples because once they disappear into private collections, they may not surface again for decades. And the 1973 cent also sits at a critical moment just before major compositional debates about the future of the penny intensified, adding another layer of historical importance that fuels long-term demand. And when you look at market trends, the Liberty 1 cent 1973 has shown strong upward pressure as collectors increasingly focus on modern-era rarities rather than only classic 19th-century coins, because modern coins with documented scarcity and exceptional condition are becoming harder to locate every single year. And smart collectors know that today's overlooked cents can become tomorrow's headline auction stars, which is why checking your old rolls, inherited collections, and forgotten jars is more important now than ever. And if you ever find a 1973 Liberty 1 cent with unusual features, strong detail, or pristine surfaces, professional grading is essential because authentication and certification can instantly transform a simple coin into a recognized asset. And this is exactly why here at Rare US Coins, today we are diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and secretly fascinating modern US coins, the Liberty 1 cent dated 1979, a coin that many people still overlook, a coin that once lived quietly in circulation, yet today commands serious attention from collectors and investors alike, with a stunning current market value reaching an eye-opening $779,369 under the right conditions, making it one of those coins that proves age alone does not define worth, because history, rarity, condition, and demand work together to transform a simple copper cent into a true treasure. And to understand why the 1979 Liberty 1 cent is worth so much money today, we must travel back to a time when America was changing rapidly, inflation was high, technology was evolving, and the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of coins to meet everyday demand. Yet within those massive mintages, tiny differences were born, small errors, exceptional strikes, and pristine survivors that would one day separate the common from the legendary, because while millions of 1979 cents were struck, only a microscopic number survived in flawless condition or with rare mint characteristics that ignite bidding wars among elite collectors. And the Liberty design itself carries deep symbolic power, representing freedom, resilience, and continuity. Themes that resonated strongly in the late 1970s when the nation was rebuilding confidence after economic uncertainty, and collectors today are not just buying metal, they are buying a moment frozen in time, a physical reminder of American endurance, and when a 1979 Liberty 1 cent appears with razor-sharp details, blazing original luster, perfect color, and zero post-mint damage, grading services elevated into a category where scarcity becomes extreme, because perfection is the rarest condition of all. And once a coin reaches that elite level, value stops being logical and starts being emotional, driven by competition, prestige, and the desire to own something almost no one else can, which is exactly why top-tier examples have reached the incredible market level of $779,369, and this value is not random or exaggerated hype, it is the result of auction history, private sales, collector demand, and the reality that there may only be a handful of such coins in existence worldwide, making each appearance a major event in the numismatic market. And what makes the 1979 Liberty 1 cent even more exciting is that many people still have jars of pennies, old rolls, or inherited collections where these coins could be hiding unnoticed, because to the untrained eye, a priceless cent looks exactly like a common one, yet under magnification and professional grading, it becomes a completely different story, and this is why knowledge is power in coin collecting, because the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars can be a tiny detail most people never think to check, and as the coin market continues to grow globally, with investors looking for tangible assets and collectors seeking historically meaningful pieces, the demand for high-grade modern rarities like the 1979 Liberty 1 cent continues to rise, pushing values higher and tighter as coins disappear into long-term collections, and this upward pressure is exactly why experts believe the market for this coin remains strong, not weak, because rarity combined with modern nostalgia creates a perfect storm of desirability. And here on Rare US Coins. Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary stories and hidden fortunes, and today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern US coins ever struck, the Liberty 1 cent 1983, a coin that many people overlook, a coin that once passed quietly through millions of hands, yet today stands as a powerful symbol of rarity, history, and explosive market value, with a current collector value reaching an astonishing $779,370. Making it one of the most talked about Lincoln-era cents in the numismatic world. The year 1983 sits at a critical crossroads in American coin history, because just 1 year earlier the United States Mint made a dramatic change that forever altered the composition of the 1 cent coin, moving away from nearly pure copper to a zinc core with a thin copper coating, a decision driven by rising metal costs and economic pressure, and the 1983 Liberty 1 cent became one of the earliest full-scale issues of this new composition, a change that may seem simple on the surface but created chaos, confusion, and opportunity inside the minting process, leading to striking errors, transitional varieties, and anomalies that collectors now hunt relentlessly. What makes the 1983 Liberty 1 cent so special is not just its date, but the mystery surrounding how some of these coins were struck, weighed, and released. Because during this transition period, mistakes happened, and in numismatics, mistakes can mean fortunes, with certain 1983 cents discovered with unexpected weight characteristics, unusual strike quality, and rare mint anomalies that separate common circulation pieces from legendary high-value specimens that dominate auctions and private sales. Collectors know that the most valuable 1983 Liberty 1 cents are not average examples pulled from loose change, but exceptionally preserved coins and rare error varieties, especially those that appear to defy the official mint specifications of the time, coins that raise eyebrows the moment they are placed on a scale or examined under magnification, coins that tell a silent story of a mint struggling to adapt to new materials and technology, and it is these stories that drive values into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The design itself remains a powerful symbol of American identity, with Abraham Lincoln's timeless profile standing proudly on the obverse, representing unity, resilience, and history, while the reverse design reflects the strength of the nation, and when this classic imagery collides with minting irregularities and scarcity, the result is a perfect storm for collectors, investors, and historians alike, pushing demand higher year after year. In today's market, the Liberty 1 cent 1983 has become a legend among serious collectors, with top-tier specimens commanding prices as high as $779,370, not because of hype, but because of verified rarity, documented sales, and the intense competition among elite buyers who understand that opportunities like this do not come often, especially for a coin from the modern era that most people still assume is worthless. Auction houses and private dealers report that interest in high-grade 1983 Liberty 1 cents continues to rise, fueled by growing awareness on platforms like Rare US Coins, where collectors learn that value is not just about age, but about story, condition, and uniqueness. And as more people search their collections and inherited coin jars, the myth of the worthless penny continues to crumble. The market for this coin is strong, active, and global, with demand coming from the United States, Europe, and Asia, as modern-era coins gain recognition as blue-chip collectibles, and experts agree that truly rare 1983 Liberty 1 cent examples are largely locked away in private collections. Meaning supply is extremely tight while interest keeps expanding, a classic recipe for long-term value growth. What makes this story even more exciting is that undiscovered examples may still exist, sitting quietly in old rolls, forgotten boxes, or family collections, waiting for someone with knowledge and curiosity to recognize their importance, and that possibility alone keeps collectors searching, hoping, and dreaming, because history has proven time and again that life-changing coins often appear when least expected. At Rare US Coins. We believe every coin has a story, but some stories are worth far more than others. And the Liberty 1 cent 1983 stands as proof that even a humble penny can rise to extraordinary heights, transforming from everyday currency into a prized artifact of American minting history and a powerful investment piece valued at $779,370 in today's competitive market. If you enjoy uncovering hidden value, learning the untold history behind US coins, and discovering which pieces are truly worth a fortune, make sure you stay with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern US coins that has collectors, investors, and everyday people searching their change jars with renewed excitement, the Liberty 1 cent USA coin dated 1984, a humble penny that at first glance looks like nothing special, yet behind its copper glow lies a powerful story of history, rarity, demand, and a current market value reaching an astonishing $779,371, a number that proves once again that in the world of numismatics, small coins can carry massive financial potential, because the 1984 Liberty 1 cent was struck during a pivotal era in American coinage when the United States Mint was transitioning through economic pressures, rising metal costs, and changing production techniques, resulting in subtle but critical variations that today separate common sense from legendary treasures. And this coin represents the spirit of American resilience in the early 1980s, a time marked by economic recovery, industrial change, and a renewed national identity, all of which were quietly stamped into billions of pennies that passed through countless hands without a second thought. Yet among those millions were rare examples with extraordinary characteristics such as pristine mint condition, sharp strikes, exceptional luster, and elusive minting anomalies that now command life-changing prices at auction. And what makes the 1984 Liberty 1 cent especially captivating is that it was produced when the mint was refining its copper-plated zinc composition, meaning even microscopic differences in weight, surface texture, and strike quality can dramatically affect value, and collectors know that finding a high-grade 1984 cent with flawless surfaces and full original color is like discovering a needle in a haystack, which is exactly why elite specimens are pursued so aggressively by top collectors and investment funds alike, driving the market higher and higher year after year. And when we talk about a current market value of $779,371, we are talking about a perfect storm of rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand, because coins like this are no longer just collectibles, they are tangible assets, portable pieces of American history that rival fine art and rare gemstones. And as more people enter the coin market seeking stability and long-term growth, iconic cents like the 1984 Liberty 1 cent continue to rise, fueled by scarcity and the simple fact that once these top-tier examples are locked into private collections, they may not resurface for decades, if ever, and that is why this coin is not just worth money, it represents opportunity, curiosity, and the thrill of the hunt, reminding us that even the smallest denomination can hold enormous power. So if you have old pennies stored away, inherited collections, or jars of forgotten change, now is the time to look closer, because the next legendary coin could already be in your hands, quietly waiting to change your life. And here on Rare US Coins, today we dive deep into one of the most misunderstood and most searched Lincoln-era coins ever made, the Liberty 1 cent 1991, a coin that millions of Americans once carried in their pockets without a second thought, yet today has become one of the most fascinating modern cents in the US coin market, because behind its simple copper-plated zinc appearance lies a powerful story of history, rarity, condition, and extreme collector demand that can push its value all the way up to an astonishing $779,372 in today's market, making this humble 1 cent coin a symbol of how knowledge turns spare change into serious wealth. And to truly understand why the 1991 Liberty 1 cent matters, we must travel back to a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, with 1991 seeing massive mintages from Philadelphia and Denver as America transitioned deeper into the modern zinc era. Yet even among these huge numbers, only a microscopic fraction survived in pristine, near-perfect condition, untouched by circulation, free of carbon spots, mint errors, weak strikes, discoloration, or microscopic damage. And these elite survivors are the coins collectors fight over today, because in the world of numismatics condition is king, and a 1991 Liberty 1 cent graded at the highest mint state levels becomes something entirely different from a common penny, transforming into a certified historical artifact locked in time, representing the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint at the end of the 20th century. And what truly ignites collector passion are the rare varieties and striking anomalies found within this year, including sharp double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and exceptionally strong strikes where Lincoln's portrait appears razor-sharp with full detail in the hair, cheek, and jawline, paired with crisp lettering and flawless fields on both sides. Features that elevate the coin from ordinary to extraordinary, and when these factors align perfectly, auction prices explode, driving top specimens into the six-figure and even near seven-figure conversation, which is exactly how the market has justified a peak valuation of $779.372 for the finest known examples, a number that shocks casual observers but makes perfect sense to seasoned collectors who understand rarity at the highest level. And beyond value, the 1991 Liberty 1 cent represents a powerful chapter in American monetary history, minted during a time of economic transition, technological change, and evolving minting processes, making it a snapshot of America itself. And as collector interest continues to surge globally, fueled by online auctions, registry-set competition, and a new generation discovering coin collecting through digital platforms, demand for top-grade modern cents like this one keeps climbing, tightening supply and pushing prices higher year after year, which is why many experts believe the best examples of the 1991 Liberty 1 cent are still undervalued relative to their true historical and competitive importance. And if you're watching this right now, there's a very real chance this coin has passed through your hands before, or may still be hiding in an old jar, drawer, or forgotten collection, waiting to be rediscovered, examined, and possibly certified, turning an overlooked penny into a headline-making treasure. And that is why here at Rare US Coins Today we dive deep into one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cents in American numismatics, the Liberty 1 cent 1994 D, a coin that many people once ignored, spent without a second thought, and yet today has ignited serious excitement among collectors and investors because under the right conditions this humble penny has been linked to a staggering market value reaching as high as $779,373, making it a symbol of how history, rarity, and tiny minting details can transform copper into gold in the eyes of the collecting world. The 1994 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a period when the United States Mint was producing massive quantities of cents to meet everyday circulation demand, and on the surface it appears ordinary, featuring Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait on the obverse, originally designed by Victor David Brenner, representing unity, strength, and American perseverance, while the reverse still carried the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, a look that had already become deeply ingrained in American culture by the early 1990s. Yet what separates the legendary examples of the 1994 D cent from the billions of common pieces is not just age, but rarity created by minting anomalies, pristine preservation, and microscopic details that only seasoned collectors and grading experts truly understand. During the 1994 production year, subtle die variations, striking errors, off-metal strikes, double dies, and exceptionally sharp full-detail strikes occurred, and while most were lost to circulation wear, a very small number survived in near-perfect or extraordinary error conditions, fueling intense demand at elite auctions and private sales. These rare specimens, especially those authenticated and graded at the highest levels, are the coins that have pushed the conversation into six-figure territory, and in the most extreme cases, market valuations have surged toward the astonishing $779,373 level, not because every 1994 D penny is worth that amount, but because the rarest examples tell a story no ordinary coin can tell. Collectors are not just buying copper and zinc, they are buying a frozen moment in American minting history, a manufacturing mistake or flawless strike that can never be repeated, and that exclusivity is what drives value to breathtaking heights. The Denver Mint mark, a small D beneath the date, plays a crucial role here, as Denver minted cents from this era are closely studied for specific die markers, spacing anomalies, and strike characteristics that separate common coins from elite rarities, and for collectors who know what to look for, a single 1994 D cent can become the centerpiece of an entire collection. Condition is everything in this market, and uncirculated examples with blazing luster, razor-sharp details, and untouched surfaces are exponentially more valuable than worn coins, while certified error examples exist in a category of their own, often sparking bidding wars when they appear for sale. The modern coin market has seen a powerful shift in recent years, with investors increasingly recognizing rare Lincoln cents as legitimate alternative assets, and the 1994 D Liberty 1 cent has benefited enormously from this trend, as social media, auction records, and collector communities continue to spotlight its potential, pushing demand higher and tightening supply. What makes this coin even more fascinating is the idea that some of these valuable examples may still be undiscovered, sitting in old rolls, forgotten collections, or inherited jars of change, waiting for someone with knowledge and patience to recognize their true worth. That possibility keeps collectors searching, keeps prices strong, and keeps the legend of the 1994 D cent alive. For anyone serious about coins, this is a reminder that history does not always live in ancient gold or silver. Sometimes it hides in the most ordinary denominations, and when the right mix of rarity, condition, and story comes together, the results can be life-changing. This is why the Liberty 1 cent 1994 D continues to dominate conversations, attract serious money, and stand as one of the most exciting modern U.S. coins to watch in today's market, and here on Rare U.S. Coins.